Always got to lower the tone. Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Won't Grow Up podcast with me, Kat Fyson.
Me, Liam Underwood, and we had some feedback from a disgruntled viewer.
Oh, I was about to be excited then until
No. Yeah, someone was very unhappy after our last episode.
It was Jack.
It was Jack. He thought that the intro to the last episode was too similar to the Nerd on Nerd intro.
So for context, anyone that hasn't watched previous episodes, don't know who Jack is.
Oh, right, yeah. I co-host a Nerd on Nerd podcast with Jack, and we tend to start each episode with, "Hi, welcome to blah, blah, blah. I'm whoever, he's whoever, and in this episode we're going to talk about..." And that's what we did last time, and apparently that's awful.
I just assumed that's what all podcasts did.
No, apparently Nerd on Nerd has like exclusive license to only use
Jack.
that phrasing.
Sorry, Jack / Nerd on Nerd, but seeing as one half of Nerd on Nerd doesn't seem that bothered about it.
I don't care. I think it's a good way to introduce an episode. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about Netflix.
Yes, Netflix and chill.
Yeah.
But just the Netflix bit.
Before we get to that,
yes, I
would like to say your picks from last week went down a storm. There was a lot of agreement I saw, especially Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Oh, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, like I said in the last episode, I show a picture of him to anyone and they just fall in love with him. So, you know.
I mean, Mandy totally agreed with you.
So we went out with some of Liam's family for Mexican food at our favourite local Mexican establishment.
It was very yummy.
It was very nice.
We had mojitos.
We did have mojitos. And Mandy, who is Aunt Mandy, but is technically your second cousin.
I don't understand how it works.
Anyway, that's not important. She loves the show.
Can't blame her. She's got great taste.
Yeah, she thinks we're hilarious.
I mean, that's a matter of opinion, but it's a good opinion to have.
Yeah, we like that opinion. If anyone else has that opinion, we would like to know because we like to have our ego stroked.
That's not the only thing. Anyway, Netflix. Or do you want to?
Always got to lower the tone.
Do you want to talk about how you've been and all that sort of stuff?
Well, I feel like if we have a catching up aspect,
Jack's going to be livid.
Jack's going to kick off.
He is going to hit the roof.
But just generally, things have been good. We've done lots of stuff.
We've been really busy.
Yeah, we've been up to the old London.
Up to that old rat race, chasing the cheese.
Yeah, did some interesting things there. I don't know if you want to talk about that or...
Yeah, no, go for it. I mean, I feel like it's better to talk about it than to just leave it all ambiguous.
Serious.
We did some interesting things in London that you will never know about.
No, we went to go and see The Room at the Prince Charles Cinema.
So for anyone that doesn't know what The Room is...
Shame on you.
How would you explain it?
It's the best, worst movie ever.
Perfect.
Yeah. It's terrible, but brilliant. And
it's a beautiful mess of a movie. Like every single element that makes up a movie just goes amazingly wrong in a very non-deliberate way. Mm-hmm. Which just coalesces into...
Why are you making The Room sound like almost academic in your feedback on it?
It's a masterpiece. It's a modern masterpiece.
Okay. It's just hilarious because of how bad it is.
Yeah.
But we went to go see that at the Prince Charles Cinema, and it was like a sort of... I don't know if it was billed as this, but this is what it was. It was like a audience participation viewing of it, where it was just so funny. Like people were just shouting stuff out.
We got to meet the writer, director, producer.
I was going to get to that. First, about the actual experience of seeing something like that in that environment was a lot of fun. There are a lot of kind of like I don't know what the right word is, but it's almost like a real life meme associated with the movie, like the spoons thing and other stuff. Like I don't know what the real life equivalent of that is called.
No, I have no idea where you're going with that train of thought.
No, like like a meme.
Like it's like almost like an in-joke that the audience is all aware of.
Yeah. So there was a lot of that. A lot of those I wasn't aware of because I think I've only seen the movie like twice before.
That's not enough, is it?
It's clearly not enough. I mean, didn't the Tommy Wiseau say you should see it 100 times to somebody who, in the Q&A.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was really fun, and there was Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero's new movie was on afterwards, which I didn't enjoy.
And I did.
Yeah, you enjoyed it a lot. But yeah, we got to meet them as well.
Yeah, there was a Q&A, audience Q&A with them. It was it was a lot of fun, and it was just, it's the worst way to watch that movie for the first time.
But the best if you've seen it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So that was probably the main thing that we've been up to in the past couple of weeks, really, hasn't it? Like,
yeah.
As a couple.
Yes, something that we did together.
Yes. And Jack.
Well, yeah, he is the third wheel. Right?
I'd put it nicer than that. But
how would you put it that's nicer than that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Our friend.
Oh, yeah, sure, that works as well.
Yeah. Anyway.
Netflix.
Netflix.
So we're going to talk now about Netflix. What is Netflix?
It's a streaming app for watching films and TV shows.
Yeah, you can get it.
For anyone who didn't know what Netflix is.
Yeah, exactly. And we watch it.
Yeah.
It has like a lot of like original content on there where they've got a lot of shows that they finance, but they also acquire a lot of shows as well, and movies, to be fair. But we're specifically talking about the TV shows today.
And we're going to talk about TV shows that we have watched that we would recommend, and they're not going to be, you know, sort of Breaking Bad and stuff like that. Stuff
like Daredevil, The Defender, the things that we think maybe you might already be aware of. If you have Netflix, particularly, the stuff that they really do push.
Yeah.
We're going to go for some stuff that maybe is a little bit more unknown. Because,
under the radar.
Yeah, and it's stuff that we both really like and want more attention on this stuff.
Yeah, because there's always the fear with shows on Netflix that if not enough people watch it, they're just going to axe it.
And some of these shows, we definitely don't want that to happen.
Some of these shows, it could potentially happen, I feel.
Yeah.
Especially those that have now done a couple of series. And like one in particular that we'll talk about is kind of it's rounded off in a way that it could carry on, but there's the risk that it might not.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, do you want to start with your first recommendation?
Yeah. Can I go with one that's... So, despite the fact that we have just said that we're going to go for some offbeat stuff, the first one is something that I don't know if a lot of people are aware of, but I think it's quite popular.
Okay.
Maybe in America. It's a show that Netflix acquired from an American network. I'm going to see if you can guess what it is.
I mean, I'm lost now.
Alright, look what I'm wearing, and that's your clue. Look at what I'm wearing.
You're wearing a white top.
And who else wears a top very much like this? He wears it better in the show.
What are you on about?
Riverdale.
Oh, bloody hell.
Archie.
Yeah, I forgot that was an Archie type top.
That's why I wore it.
Oh, yeah, Riverdale's really popular. We can still talk about it, but it is really popular.
Just so
it's
dismissive.
Not one of those shows.
You guys you've probably heard of it. So Riverdale.
No, we'll still talk about it. We'll definitely still talk about it because, to me, I was really expecting not to like Riverdale.
Well, fun story. Here's a little insight into the relationship of Kat and Liam. Okay, Liam likes to watch a lot of media, films, TV.
Constantly.
Kat, she'll dabble. She's a dabbler.
I like to dabble.
She likes a little dabble. Now, despite the fact that I quite often, I think it's fair to say, will be like, oh, I think you'll like this.
Oh my God, are we on this again? You've literally spent the past 3 or 4 days going on about how you recommend stuff to me. And I'm like, oh, I don't think I want to watch it. And then I get around to watching it and I really like it. Big whoop.
You would think after the first couple of times she'd start to just trust me, but no.
Never.
And I've yet to steer you wrong.
To be fair, with Riverdale... It was actually that I was half watching, on my laptop.
You didn't like the first episode?
No.
Or you didn't think you'd like the first episode? Because I remember I put it on and you went, I'm not interested in watching this, and got the laptop out.
Yeah, it was just because... This sounds ridiculous now that I've watched it all, but they were talking like...
Dawson's Creek?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't dislike Dawson's Creek. But it just, to me, I was kind of just a bit sick of, dialogue being written for teenagers that doesn't sound like teenagers.
But see, this is the thing, right? Because I love Dawson's Creek.
Yeah.
And the first episode of Netflix, hits like 3 big Dawson's Creek storylines in like a 45-minute space of time.
Right.
And I thought that was brilliant. And then you add on this weird, like, Twin Peaks kind of mystery to it.
That's the part of it I like, is the most.
And Jughead.
Juggy! And Juggy.
Yeah,
everyone loves
you became
Juggy.
a big fan of Juggy.
Yeah.
But for anyone not aware, Riverdale's based on the Archie comics.
I feel like we've done this the wrong way round, haven't we?
A little bit.
We've just been like, oh my god, the show's so good. Oh yeah, it's about this.
So it's about Archie, Betty, Veronica, Juggy, and, you know,
all
the
their
things
pals.
they get up to.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you can... Could you say what the mystery is? Because didn't the marketing say a lot about that?
It's basically, it's essentially a murder mystery.
Yeah,
but wrapped up in this, like, high school setting.
Yeah,
that's
which is
very
why you dig it.
Stylised.
Yep.
So, Riverdale, if you haven't seen it, and maybe if you're like Kat, being a bit dismissive and thinking, oh, it's just a Dawson's Creek, I'm not going to enjoy that, maybe give it a go.
I wasn't dismissive for very long of it, to be fair.
No, you by the end of the first episode, the laptop was closed, and you were like, I might like this, actually.
What is this? Yeah.
So, yeah, Riverdale, that's my first recommendation.
Yeah, Riverdale is very good. Shall I give a recommendation?
Yeah, that's probably for the best.
Yeah, that seems to be the structure. I would like to recommend, and it's not because I'm like crazy about the show, but just because it is decent, and that is Ozark.
Okay.
And the reason that... Oh, excuse me, my stomach just rumbled. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up. Anyway.
It might do.
It might do. I'm a bit hungry. Jeez. Anyway, so Ozark, I'm recommending because it's definitely got some Breaking Bad vibes to it.
Yeah, if you've seen Breaking Bad, you'll kind of figure where the similarities. Yeah.
Also because it's one of those shows that, like, I recommended to my parents.
Yeah.
And they really dug it.
Well, they really liked Breaking Bad, didn't they?
They did, yeah. So it kind of makes sense that they like it. But I thought, like, it was really well done.
But we have, and this is the crucial thing.
We have baggage.
Yeah, we have the Bateman baggage.
The Bateman baggage. Because we both love Jason Bateman. We love Arrested Development.
Yeah.
There's quite a few films of his that are decent as well.
And, like, we're used to him... Like, I'm used to seeing him do 2 things now. I'm used to seeing him play this, like, lovable dickhead, essentially, which he does in a lot of films. He's often, like, the antagonist. But also the, like, weary, put upon, like, I'm this, like, one bastion of sanity surrounded by idiocy.
Which is basically Arrested Development.
Yeah. So we're used to seeing those 2 sides of him.
Yeah.
And Ozark then tries to throw in this more... weighty, serious
more
side,
dramatic side.
Yeah, and when you're coming with this baggage, it's really hard to like not see some of his mannerisms carry over. Yeah,
well, they do. Like, I don't know whether it's deliberate, but there's the Bateman wink, which he uses in the show. That's the one that he uses in the show.
It's where his face is like pretty much, his face doesn't move at all, just a tiny little wink.
Tiny little wink.
Real little tiny wink.
And he usually sort of like follows it up by saying buddy or
champ
or pal. And, and that's very Arrested Development to me, because that's how he talks to George Michael. And so with that, you get a little bit distracted and a bit taken out of the sort of drama of it. But it doesn't overall detract from the show. No,
and it does have, so we talked about this on the Nerd on Nerd podcast. And it does...
Nerd on Nurse.
I mean, that sounds like a Russ Meyer film.
It sounds like a very different show.
And it's something we touched upon where it falls into the same trap that Breaking Bad falls into. I think like Dexter kind of fell into it, maybe Prison Break, where the female, like the wife role, which sort of Walking Dead does it as well.
Yeah.
Laurie. Yeah, they don't do a very good job of making these female like characters particularly strong or empowered. No. They tend to be very naggy.
Yeah, the thing is they kind of like... It's because, I feel, especially with Breaking Bad, is you get so behind the character of Walt, no matter what he does. And I feel like it is the same in Ozark to a degree. There are a couple of episodes where there's a few storylines where
They very deliberately paint her as almost not quite a villain, but as someone that is hard to like at the beginning.
Yeah, but as it goes on, I'll admit there are a couple of episodes where I definitely do get behind what she's doing, but it's because Ozark takes a very different approach where the wife already knows what he's up to.
Yeah.
Which I think is really interesting. So it doesn't give it too much away because, again, this is in the marketing, but Jason Bateman's character, whose name I've forgotten...
Yeah, I can't remember, actually.
No, I genuinely can't remember what his name is. Oh,
doesn't matter.
No. Anyway. Oh, Marty.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is laundering money for the Mexican cartel.
Yeah.
You can say that much and it doesn't really give anything away.
No.
But his wife already knows about it, which you find out very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that's giving a little bit away, but not too much. And I like that because you then you've already seen that story before, not just with Breaking Bad, but other shows and films and
you've
stuff.
got the like male character who's maybe doing something like illegal, but he's doing it for like
his family.
Which we've seen, and it's more interesting with Ozark when the family are more in on what's going on.
Yeah.
That adds an interesting dynamic, and I really, really like a character in it named Ruth.
Yes, Ruth is a really good character.
So yeah, there's a lot to like in it, but I didn't love the show, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I'll agree. I didn't love the show, but I liked it enough, and I think that if you don't like the first episode, you know you're not going to like the rest of the show. It's not one of those ones where it's a bit of a slow burner and you have to kind of wait and see what it's like. If you don't like it by episode 1, you're probably not going to get on board at all.
Well, maybe give it like 2 episodes, because 1 is very much set up, and then 2 it really starts kicking more into gear.
Yeah, but I think that the first episode has a lot going on in it.
It does. It sets the right tone.
Yeah.
But I would still say give it 2.
Oh, okay. He says to give it 2. Next recommendation?
This is my new favourite show on Netflix that we've watched, and it's brilliant, and more people need to see it, and it's called Atypical.
It is very, very good. It's
a comedy, but there's that coming-of-age element to it as well that I quite like.
Yeah, it's not entirely comedy. It's like drama.
No, there's a bit of drama. Yeah, I think the show that I've seen that it's most like in line with tonally, which is also on Netflix, is a show called Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah.
Which again,
man, that's great.
That's another show. I feel like a lot of people maybe have seen that already or are aware of it, but
possibly,
that's great.
It's got a lot of big names in it.
Yeah, like James Franco, Seth Rogen, Linda Cardellini.
Yeah.
I love her.
Who you missed off of your list last week.
I know. I was very disappointed. Also, Tom Wilson, who plays Biff in Back to the Future.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, we're getting distracted. Yeah. Atypical. It's about an 18-year-old in high school who is on the spectrum.
Yeah, he's autistic.
Yeah, and he decides he wants to try dating.
Yeah.
I think there's a line from the trailer where he's like, I really want to see boobs before I die. That's his kind of approach to it. And the first episode is a real, like, they strike the balance between drama and comedy, but then I'd say after that it definitely becomes more comedic. There's still dramatic stuff in it.
Yeah, I think it's not so much that it becomes, for me, it's not that it becomes more comedic, it's just the scale is no longer quite as balanced.
Yeah.
There will be some episodes that are more comedic and then there'll be some that are more dramatic. Like one of them, I can't remember.
Towards the end, I think.
Yeah, towards the end. Like, I was almost in tears. But there were funny moments in the episode.
Oh yeah, it's a great episode. Again, though, it does a similar thing to what we were saying with Ozark, where the mum character is the hardest one to get behind. Like, I totally see why she does what she does.
Yeah.
But because of what it is she's doing, I'm being careful not to do spoilers here, she's the hardest one to root for.
That's true. And I think probably in all of, like, as far as I can remember, in all of these shows, she's the one... Like, I can sympathise to some degree with her actions, but her actions have consequences to characters that I care a lot more about.
Yes, exactly.
And that's all I'm saying about that without spoiling it.
But the sister in the show, Casey, she's just perfect.
We've been through this in the last episode. We don't have to go through your love for Casey all over again.
But she's brilliant. She's one of the best characters in anything ever.
She's a really good character in it.
Strong,
funny,
feisty.
Yeah, funny.
And I really also like something that I don't think we see a lot in TV shows. Maybe that's wrong, but I liked the way they depicted the relationship between the son and the father.
Yeah.
It feels like something that I haven't really seen a relationship like that, I don't think, in any of the TV that I've seen.
No, and I think part of it is due, not entirely, but I think part of it is due because you don't get that representation of autism in TV. I think the closest thing that we have seen to a character that is potentially on the spectrum is Sheldon in The Big Bang Theory, would be an obvious kind of, and that sort of spin-off prequel thing.
Young Sheldon.
Yeah, it is kind of alludes to it, I think.
Yeah.
But you haven't really had the sort of like spoken representation of it, which Atypical does so well because it doesn't skirt around the topic at all. It's not all about that because the other characters have their own storylines, not all of which are tied into the main character Sam.
No, but that you do tend to see this knock-on effect.
Yeah.
Like how having someone like that in your family does kind of slightly shade some of your own kind of aspirations or goals or whatever.
Yeah, I think it does a good job of like telling that story.
Definitely.
Story that you've not.
And it's just really good. And I want more people to see it because I want a second season.
Yeah, like we were saying at the beginning of the show, that Netflix has this tendency to axe things that doesn't get the figures that they want, and it would be a real shame to see it go because it's one of those shows where you get to the last episode and you just desperately want more.
Yeah, it feels like back in the day with Netflix, they used to almost guarantee 2 seasons to shows. Like how like kind of network TV works, where you'll have like a pilot episode, and then based on the success of that, will be whether they greenlight the whole show or not. It felt like Netflix was always doing a pilot season, and they always was like, well, if the first season, we'll generally go and give a second one. Yeah. But lately, they've been kind of tightening the old purse strings and. Yeah. It's not quite so guaranteed these days.
So watch Atypical.
Thank you. This is a public service announcement.
Yeah. Okay, so my next recommendation. I haven't seen all of the series, but the ones that I have seen, I enjoy. And this is a bit different because it's one where you've seen one series and not seen any more.
No. And this was another Netflix acquired. That's worth mentioning. Ozark and Atypical were Netflix originals.
Yes.
This one was acquired.
And this one is American Horror Story. So we've both seen the first series.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I wasn't like crazy about it.
Again, like it's not like Atypical where you come out of it and you're like, oh my god, I can't wait to see any more.
No, and this is so the thing with American Horror Story. First, it's a horror show.
Yeah.
Second, each season is a completely different like set of characters.
Yeah, there are some seasons that
there's like some crossover, is there?
Some crossover, yeah. So the first season is Haunted House. I think that's what it's called.
The other thing is, for me, it took me on. It's the same creative team or the same writer at least who did Glee.
Yeah, Ryan Murphy.
And it took me a while to get used to the pace of the episodes because it's very quick and right. Here's my issue, right? With American
talking about
Horror
it yet, but okay.
I know, but I'm sorry. But here's the thing: everything is so quick paced, and it almost was like a YouTube video, right? Like a Philip DeFranco video where there's lots of jump cuts to take out any like ums or pauses. Okay,
right.
So it's just constant like.
This is coming from the guy who likes Dawson's Creek.
Yeah, no, but let me get to the point, right? The thing with horror is it works best when you have tension and atmosphere.
Oh, you 100% have tension in American Horror Story.
And that's where we disagree.
You're forgetting about the scene with the guy in the...
Yeah, no, I'm remembering it, and I think you're forgetting how quickly cut it all is.
I think that's what I like about it, though, is that it is a bit different.
It is very different.
Yeah, that's what I like about it. And the first, like, you need to see Series 2. So Series 2, for anyone who hasn't seen American Horror Story, so you've got Haunted House is the first series. The second series is Asylum. And Asylum is brilliant.
Right, so
everybody's favourite series of American Horror Story.
At some point, I'll watch that and then we can do like a
Because you need to see it. It is so good. Up. I think you might also like season 3, which is Coven.
Witches.
Witches.
I like witches.
You like the witches.
And naughty.
Okay.
Normally, witches are quite...
Yeah, but that was weird. Anyway, so season 3 is the witches one, which has Emma Roberts in it. So
I like her.
Too. Season 4, I think, is Freak Show, which is where I actually stopped after a couple of episodes. And
there's Hotel as well. Was that after?
That's after, so I haven't seen that yet. But the reason I stopped is because it just didn't... This is the thing with American Horror Story, is because you have these different stories, there's going to be some series you really like and some that you don't. And the beauty of it is, by and large, you could probably skip. I'm probably going to skip Freak Show. I might get, if you get as far as that, might get you to watch a couple and see whether you think it's any better than I did.
Okay.
But I am quite keen to watch Hotel.
Yeah.
But in conclusion, the reason that I've included American Horror Story is probably the first 2 seasons, and it's because the show is a bit different.
It's very different to anything we've been speaking about so far.
Yeah, and like it's some of the camera work and stuff is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff they managed to do with it is really good, and also Zachary Quinto is in it, and he's in the first and second series. I don't know if he's in others, but he is brilliant in both.
He played a really good character in a show called Heroes.
I didn't watch Heroes.
No, but he was good in that.
Yeah, so that's my next recommendation.
I feel like that's more in line with Riverdale. Like,
it's a bit different. It's very stylised,
and it's also a bit more popular, I think, than maybe Ozark and Atypical.
Yeah, I don't think we need to worry about American Horror Story being axed because one, like you said, it's acquired by Netflix.
And I feel like people watching this, that's probably the show they're most likely to have heard of.
I feel like it still deserved a mention.
Yeah, no, yeah. It adds a bit of spice to the list.
Spice. Okay.
So the next one I'm going to do is another Netflix original.
Yeah.
And it's a show called Flaked.
Yes.
With Will Arnett, who was in Arrested Development with Jason Bateman.
Yep.
Which is also a good show to watch, but again, that's acquired and hugely popular.
Yeah.
But it is on Netflix.
Are the later series of Arrested Development, so the last one and the one that's coming, are they Netflix originals?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
But Flaked is it's a 6-episode show, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's 6 episodes. The episodes are like 30 minutes long each.
Yeah.
And comfortable?
I am now. My leg was going dead.
Okay. And it's just, again, I like the shows that are kind of quite tonally offbeat. And Flaked
is definitely that.
It never feels like you're sure it knows what it wants to be. And I watched like the first season just fascinated by this whole, like, is it trying to be a comedy? Is it trying to be a drama? I could never get a handle on what it was trying to do. And that for me was what I liked about it, because it just kept me...
It is amazing in that way.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing that kept me thinking about it.
Yeah, because there's definitely like comedic moments to it.
And Will Arnett is typically a comedic actor, and he has comedic moments, but he does such a great serious role in this show. He's very
deadpan in this show. It's like the comedy elements mostly are quite dark comedy.
Yeah.
And the topic of the show is also quite
dark.
So
if anyone who isn't aware, Will Arnett essentially plays a recovering alcoholic.
Yeah.
He lives in Venice Beach, and at the start of the show, he's kind of quite well regarded among everyone there.
Yeah, everybody kind of knows who he is, and there's
like him.
There's quite a community around other recovering alcoholics.
But there's something that he's not telling people.
Yeah.
And that's essentially like the crux of the show. And it is a real good character study of this just fascinating individual. I'd say the first season is better than the second.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But I think that's because there is still a lot of mystery around his character.
Yeah.
And although it is a really good character study of who he is, I think one thing that the second half of the first series and the second series does is to develop some of those other characters.
Yeah, the first series to me definitely feels like his story, and the second season feels like his story takes a slight
step back
backseat, and the other characters kind of come up a bit.
So his best friend Dennis,
Yeah.
and the character called London.
Yeah.
Those characters get a bit
stoner
more.
guy.
The stoner guy whose name I can't remember. Is it Pete or something? Or I don't know. He gets a bit more story in the second season, and whilst that's good, I think it does in a way kind of take a bit away from what was so good about the first series.
And this is the show that I think is most at risk of being cancelled because
so it's the second season. Like I said at the beginning, this is the show I was basically talking about at the beginning, where at the end of season 2, it's kind of wrapped itself up, although there are other areas that it could explore if there were a third season. It wouldn't surprise me if that was kind of it for Flakes, which would be a shame.
I don't see it getting talked about a lot.
No. So that's why we're here to do it.
Watch Flaked. Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
What sort of tone do you think it's setting?
Mm-hmm. Next rec?
Yeah, sure, Tom.
Yeah. I'm going to recommend Love.
Okay. Love. Well, as Tommy Wiseau says, if more people love each other, the world would be a better place.
Wow.
Just bring it all together very nicely.
Neat little bow. Yeah, so Love stars... oh God, I can't remember his name now.
Paul Rust.
Paul Rust. I had Paul Rudd in my head and I was like, no, that's definitely wrong. And what's...
Gillian Jacobs?
Gillian Jacobs.
Or is it Gillian? It's Gillian, I think.
Gillian Jacobs, who is in Community, which is another great show.
I struggled with the beginning of Love, but then got really into it. But the first episode proper pissed me off.
Why did it piss you off? I can't really remember the first one.
Because, right, so Paul Rust is this odd-looking fella, okay? You know, fine as an actor, but he does look odd, very beaky. Quite
nerdy.
Yeah, even Jack said that I look better than him. And so that's saying something, right? And he also wrote the show.
Yeah.
And in the first episode, this dorky-looking character turns down a threesome with 2 incredibly attractive women, and I was like, it just broke any suspension of reality I had in that show.
So essentially, Paul Rust has written a show
where he's like
some sort of like Adonis.
Yeah.
It
was just that it definitely changes after the first season, the first episode. Sorry, but that first episode, I really struggled to kind of just suspend disbelief and get on board with it.
I think the reason that we kept with it that was more for Gillian Jacobs because we really liked her, and I'm glad we stuck with it.
Oh yeah, it is a good show.
It is a good show, especially for one that's exec produced by Judd Apatow, which kind of initially put me off a little bit. Not that I dislike his movies necessarily, but I thought if this TV show is just going to be a TV version of the sorts of films that he does, I just don't think I'm going to enjoy it.
He needs a good editor. That's the thing with Judd Apatow, is his movies always go on like easy 30 minutes too long.
Yeah, just a bit too long. But anyway, back to Love. What do you love most about Love?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I know.
I think I like the relationship aspect to it.
Yeah, I initially I was getting a bit annoyed about the hot and cold aspect of it, because one minute they were kind of like into each other and blah blah blah, but over time it did get a bit more realistic when you started to learn more about the characters and what they were like, and Paul Rust's character becomes a bit more realistic over time, a bit neurotic and more what I was expecting from his character at the beginning. It's
set in LA and has a real like LA vibe to so he works on like movie sets as a
it's a TV show, isn't it?
Yeah, so he works on like TV sets as a teacher for like young cast. And then she works in like a social media digital marketing.
It's very millennial, isn't it?
Yes, that's a good way of describing it.
But not in that like really annoying way that some shows have done in the past, where you're just dealing with millennial characters. It's it's very detached from our reality in terms of the sorts of jobs they have and their surroundings, but it is still like the stories and the characters are still grounded in some reality as the show goes on.
Another Netflix original.
Yes. I love how you're just suddenly remembering and you're like, Netflix original.
Had 2 seasons. I think this one stands a good chance of getting a 3rd.
Yeah, I don't think it will go much beyond a 3rd. It doesn't feel like a long-running TV show.
No.
Because I feel like it would just end up covering the same... Because there is a little bit of that sometimes where it's this cycle of, you know...
They get
will they, won't they situation. And there's only so long that you can kind of carry that sort of storyline on when you don't have a lot of other characters.
But there are some really funny moments in it.
Yes.
Like, it does work well as a comedy.
Yeah, there was one episode that's coming to my mind at the moment that I thought was quite good, was when they all... Is it that they all smoke weed or they take something? Was it weed or was it something else? I think it might have been something else.
Possibly, yeah.
And that's quite a funny episode.
The one I'm thinking of is when he's set up on a date with someone and someone sets 2 characters up on a date, and then both of the characters essentially figure out that they've kind of been set up, and then they're both aware that they don't particularly fancy the other person, so they try and escalate just the ridiculousness of the situation.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
That was a very good one. Yeah, and that's the other bit I wanted to talk about with Love is that character, the other girl, the Australian, who I can't. It feels like such a long time ago since we watched Love that I can't remember the character names. But I love her. Yeah. She's brilliant. I don't know who the actress is because I don't think I've seen her in anything else.
No, I haven't.
But she is very good, very funny.
I have one last recommendation.
Okay.
It's a Netflix original.
Funny that.
It's a documentary.
Yep.
And it's all about American football.
Last Chance You.
It's had 2 seasons.
Yep.
It's set in East Mississippi Community College, I believe it is.
Yep.
EMCC. Essentially, when it comes to like college football, the way I can gather it, with my knowledge of literally just watching this documentary, is you have certain colleges that if you go and play for their team, you have great exposure and you stand a real good chance of making it to like the big leagues.
Yeah.
Some athletes at that sort of age of 18, 19. They've had a pretty easy high school ride being like these football players. Once they get to college, maybe they make some mistakes. Maybe they get in some trouble with the law.
Yeah, they might have backgrounds.
Maybe their grades are slipping.
Yeah.
EMCC picks up these players once they've sort of fallen from grace a little bit and gives them a second chance.
A last chance.
So, yeah.
No more chances.
And, it's interesting because you see the coach's perspective, you see the player's perspective, and then you see Miss Brittany's perspective, who is essentially...
That's what the players call her.
Yeah, and she's essentially like almost like a guidance counsellor.
Yeah, she's academic support, I think.
Yeah.
Her job is basically to make sure that they
get the grades.
They get the grades so they can keep going through school.
Keep playing football.
Yeah.
And the thing is, so this college has a reputation behind it as well of finding these like star athletes. So like we were saying, the other top colleges that get a lot of exposure, this school also gets like good opportunities.
I think it's built up that reputation, and you're kind of dropped in when they already have that reputation.
Yeah.
But they're sort of falling from grace a little bit. I won't say anything on that. But...
The first season is all leading up. You see it in the first episode, and you see how we got to this point where just this huge thing happens that has repercussions that play out into the second season. And it's fascinating. Yeah,
and I think what I love most about Last Chance You is the characters. I say characters, they are actual real people, it being a documentary. But kind of getting to know about the players and their backgrounds, how they got where they did and what kind of motivates them, what they want to do next. But also the character of the coach.
Yeah,
I keep saying character. The coach, Buddy, is fascinating.
Yes.
He is what I imagine, if you know more about American football, is what you would imagine a high school coach to be like. He's quite fiery, he's quite...
Oh yeah, very, very explosive.
Explosive is a good way of describing him. But especially in the second series, it's really fascinating to see, because the character, done it again. The people in the show
have seen the first series
have
and
watched
seen
the first series,
how they've been portrayed.
So a lot of the conversation in the second series is whether they feel like how they've been portrayed is a fair way they've been portrayed. How they feel now that people have seen potentially what they're really like, and that I just find really fascinating.
Yeah,
especially with Buddy's development. But I think the best person on there, my favourite person, has to be Brittany.
Yeah, she's brilliant. She's essentially the heart of the show.
She really is. Yeah, and I think that in the second series they're very aware of that.
Yeah,
and they kind of play up to that a little bit in a good way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just absolutely love her, and the players really love her.
Yeah,
they have a lot of respect for her. So you've got all these quite like big burly American football players that are they're really quite sensitive around her. They can kind of talk around her, and it's just really enjoyable.
And also it's a good, I think you don't need to know everything about American football.
Definitely not. I know
to enjoy the show.
I know more about American football now from having watched the show.
But it equally doesn't sit you down and go, like, it's not like, here's a lesson in American football.
No, it's just you get to see enough of the games and the commentary.
And they've done a good job of like picking out like the key moments from games that are like interesting.
I can only imagine how much footage they actually have, not just from the games, but from the training and
the locker room talks.
Whoever edited and put together this series just did an amazing job. Because at the end of each episode, essentially, you do get a snippet, like a highlight from their Friday night game.
Yeah.
Which is just so much fun to watch.
Yeah. Have you got one more?
There was one, but again, it's a bit like American Horror Story, where it's not really a recommendation.
Okay.
So I've seen it, you've not seen it. I just would be really interested in your perspective on it. And it's kind of a show that had like a lot of buzz at the beginning and then just disappeared.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether people like me watched the first few episodes and then were just like, no, not sure about this. And it is another Netflix original.
Okay.
But it's based off of...
The suspense of what the show is killing me.
I'll get into it. It's based off of books, but also there was a film. And that show is a series of unfortunate events.
Not seen any of the books, the films, not done any of that.
It's just one film.
I have like zero interest in watching it because it just looks like a Tim Burton knockoff, essentially.
I can see where you're coming from. I don't think it's really necessarily that. So the books are, like, I read the books as a teenager and they are good. I really enjoyed them. And I actually really loved the film with Jim Carrey as well. It is a good film. If you don't ever watch the series, at least watch the film. But the series it's basically essentially the brainchild of Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah.
Who's great. I really like Neil Patrick Harris, and I was actually admittedly quite curious for his take on the kind of lead antagonist, Count Olaf.
Yeah.
And he does an okay job.
Okay.
Essentially, the show... The reason I want you to watch it is because it's one of those things, it's kind of like Ozark with the
You've got the baggage, yeah.
I've got the baggage of all the other media around it that I've read and seen, that I don't know whether that is what is affecting my judgment of the show, and that you might actually potentially really enjoy the show.
Possibly.
So in a way it's a recommendation because you might enjoy it. It is quirky, it's a bit silly, and also it's narrated by Patrick Warburton, who has like one of the best voices in the world. So that's why I would recommend it to you, but I wouldn't necessarily like
rave about
it. It may well be that I carry on watching it and enjoy it a bit more, but I felt like...
You started watching it a long time ago and you haven't felt a need to go back to it.
Yeah, I think I watched like 2 episodes and it wasn't like sat watching, enjoying it. It was more like, I don't know whether they've drawn a bit too much from the books in some ways, but also have kind of turned it into something very American.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, which isn't necessarily a criticism, it's just a very different tone that I was expecting from it.
Yeah.
So sort of recommending that, but slightly different to all the other recommendations.
Yeah. And that's our recommendations for now. We might have more in the future.
Yeah, I'm sure we will probably do
the next show we're going to watch is Gilmore Girls.
Oh, God. Can't you just watch that?
Nah.
I really don't.
You might like it. You never know.
I've seen episodes before, and it has the Dawson's Creek problem. And I didn't mind Dawson's Creek, but I can't stand the way that the dialogue's a big deal to me. I like decent dialogue. And it just, to me, Gilmore Girls is not decent dialogue.
Well, I'll have to watch it and find out. If you've got any recommendations for us...
It's very dramatic. You!
Let us know. Leave us a comment, tweet us, I don't know, do something.
So if you want to tweet us, it's wontgrowuppod.
Yeah.
If you want to email us, it's wontgrowuppod@gmail.com.
Have we had any tweets or emails?
No, I think... Oh, we had the tweet from Amanda.
Oh yeah, so she said that we should talk about our favourite Netflix series, but I promise you...
We'd already decided to do that. Because you initially wanted to talk just about Atypical.
It's so good.
And
just about Casey.
I just thought it would be better to, have a bit more to it than that.
Yes.
And so that's how this happened. But yeah, if you've got any other shows that you think that we should watch, let us know. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, if you're happy with this angles, are you happy with this?
Yeah.
Good.
Good.